So something's been bothering me all weekend. And what it is on my last market update, I started talking about like it seems like $4 was the low for modern double rare cards. The sets I was looking at. Modern to me is defined as within the last year, 2 years. A set that is actually playable, that isn't, like let's say 6 years old, that it doesn't have all these different tools and abilities, right? It's just going to be killed. You can't really play with it. You can play with it, but you're most likely going to lose to a newer set. So those cards, the ones like 5, 6 years ago that doesn't have all these abilities and things like that, those are more of a like a collectible item, or you had your fun with it and time's up on them, right? So I don't expect those double rares to be really expensive again unless there's some kind of collectability to them. So I am leaving that out of this discussion, right? These modern sets, whether they're really good or really bad, they still have some ability to win games today. If you were to walk into a store or play against people, you would at least have some shot at it. And so what I did was, we know from Beaufry just last week that it bounced, right? There was a bounce right here at this. We could basically call this a support level at this point, right? We can just draw a little line here. If you do technical analysis, we're going to just draw a line here and say this is our support level at 438. And it bounced off of that. And again, the reason why that could have happened again is it's a low price. People were looking to collect. It's a good series, right? So that's what we have going on here. So what I did was I went back as far as Memory Snow. When you go back further past Memory Snow, you have Slime, which, new sets coming out. People have been buying up. Girls Band Party, there's just a million sets. I mean, not girls. Bang Dream. Bang Dream, there's just going to be a lot of cards, and people can make sets from anything. I didn't bother looking at it. There's just way too many cards. Fujimi out there. I mean, the prices on this is really high. JoJo, I just didn't want to keep going and going. And we have Alicization, Goblin Slayer, you should know about that. It's really expensive. Heaven's Feel, really expensive. Bunny Girl, really expensive. You get the point. So there's no reason for me to keep on going. I just didn't want to bother with it. And then even further back, then you start looking at really expensive stuff. See, even with I even went as far as, did I close it? I might have closed it. Card Captor Sakura. I went Gun Gale online, and you could see prices on Gun Gale, 18, 14, 15. I'm going to talk about the sales history later, but anyways, let's take a look down here, right? So we're going to take a look at Memory Snow. Memory Snow came out August 28, 2020. It was a weaker set. It was a set that sat around. I think this was highly purchased, but again, well, highly purchased as in there was a lot printed. To me, it seemed like a lot printed, but at the same time, there wasn't really tons of strong cards. This wasn't really anything that was going to change anything. Frozen Bond was the one you wanted. So what we have here is a pretty poor showing. We have the best card being a Rem here. Leave everything to Rem, 1580. Rest is below 6. And you can see the average is 422. Even knowing that, right? Again, like I'm looking at double rare averages. Even knowing that 422 is pretty low. But I always assumed in my mind that 4-ish was about the lowest these modern ones can go average-wise. And the reason why I say that again is if I've heard a lot about how double rares are really expensive, but really is it one card? Is it all the cards? Is it average over all of them? So again, if you were a collector, this is pretty sweet, right? You can get a whole lot of these cards at pretty much a low price. And again, you're gonna run into one because unless a set is junk, like complete junk, total uselessness, there should be one or two really good cards, right? There should be something in there that lets you have the ability to play it or add support to a prior set. We got Overlord. So Overlord's interesting for and the reason why it's interesting is these yellow highlights, and I'll go talk about that later. But as we can see here, I'm going to use this column. We're going to refer to column C as the real price. So uh, Overlord came out. It was an older set, but it came out to English a lot late. Again, it's not even called Overlord. It's called Nazarick, Tomb of the Undead. Is that what it is? Hold on. Nazarick, Tomb of the Undead. Just probably because Overlord was taken copyright-wise. Nobody really knows, but it's probably why. There was a movie that came out named that, so they weren't able to use it. And we got here, again, I like that anime. It was really good. I know people, I think it was a mixed feeling of Overlord. I liked it. It was kind of dark, kind of messed up. Because again, like you think these things are supposed to be, I felt like he was supposed to be a good guy, and then it was all evilly, so maybe that's why it was a little darker than what people would have thought it would have been. But we have here, it's probably because I'm watching Sword Art Online and all those other things. You got good guys, but this main character dude is a good guy, right? So, anyways, there are some good cards. It was playable back in the day. You could still use it. You might be able to win a few games, but really not all that great. But as you see here, there's some decent price cards in the set, and my double rare average I'm giving it is 417. Again, for a modern set, 417. If you take a look here, we have Magia Record Anime 489. So almost in a way, what I'm trying to do is figure out how much lower these things can actually go. Like looking at the big cards, small cards, average, how far can it really go? And here, what we're seeing is it can drop a little further, but at the same time, Weiss cards don't really go down all that much when you think about overall average. If you take the average of a whole set, for whatever reason, you want to collect the whole play set, here you go. Like averages, once it gets down to this number, maybe that's a good time to buy. What I'm going to talk about next here is this yellow. Why is this thing in yellow, and why are these numbers like out of whack? At some point, someone decided on May 9th that they were going to play a whole lot of Overlord or do a buyout. And the best part about TCGPlayer now is the fact that we have this. We have a latest sales listing, right? So you could take a look and see like the current price, look at past sales, and if it kind of makes sense to you. So we have here that RAM I was showing you before, 1525. If you thought it was kind of nuts, not really. If you take a look at the history, 611, 524, 524, we got RAM around that area, right? So it was 22 back in February, went to 25. It's around low 1259, 1797. So you get the point. Like we can tell that this price right here, whether you agree to it or not, is on TCGPlayer. It actually sells around this pricing. So we know right away that this is actual a price that the market is willing to pay for it. You know, no one's jacking these prices up. It seems about right. Same with this one, right? That's not it. RAM, we got 3. We have a bunch of, not recently, but again, we have sales. And the reason why not recently, just go back here and reiterate this point. This is from August 2020, and people probably don't need it. You know, if we look at the past sales, it was right about, this is about right? February, 190. Today, about $3. It went up over time. People like REM, people like Ray Zero, so it makes sense to me. Same thing with Fate Grand Order, but I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this. So what we have here is this market price, 581. And then you're looking at it's $18. So what is really happening here? As you can see, we have $18, but if you scroll on down, we have 2 sellers. So again, lack of supply. But there's something else, right? So the something else is this. Albedo. If you pick up the history, if you take a look and look down at the history, May 9th, like I said, here we go. May 9th, somebody, let's not even say May 9th. It almost seems like May 3rd. Nah, not May 3rd. Somebody on May 9th decided to buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of these things. Maybe they're making 2 decks. Maybe they're making 3 decks. Maybe they love Albedo. Or they just wanted to buy it all up. And, you know, I don't know what happened here. Maybe this card was already there. Someone decided that, hey, the real price of this is $382, so I'm going to put it up for $382. This is why you don't price things low. Or look at what the price used to be, because then someone's going to buy it and relist it for a higher price. You don't do that. Or you just lose out on money. But in reality, something happened here on May 9th. Someone decided, I'm going to either collect Overlord, play Overlord, or I'm just going to raise your prices. So you can tell right here that, again, one, TCGPlayer really good about adding this sales listing. Number 2, somebody's looking to do something with these cards. You also have the same thing happening with Nabe. And Nabe on May 9th, again, you like that? May 9th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Was that 11? 12. Someone bought 12 copies of this on May 9th. And again, it could have been one person, it could have been 2 people. But, and again, I don't know who this person was. Like, why'd you put it up at 342? Not really sure what that is, but again, you kind of just, not to say you lost money. This is the history of this thing, and it hasn't sold since May 16th. But really, just because, again, you have this mindset that this card is only worth $3, you shouldn't probably price it for what you thought it was worth before. I'm not saying that. Again, I'm not saying I would buy this card at $17. I would not. I would not do that at all. But at the same time, why throw up your card at a lower price when you could price it, what, like, let's say $10. Just put it at $10. Make yourself feel better. Put it at $10. There is, and I want to make a disclaimer on it. So why I use this versus this is you could easily go out to other websites. Again, I'm not going to say the other websites, but there are other websites that sell Weiss singles that you can find these prices on, right? So even though, again, I use TCGPlayer when I do these videos, I'm not idiotic enough to think that the only place you should look at prices or buy from is from TCGPlayer. That would be a horrible mistake that you are making, right? So not something you should do. But again, proof here to me is 417 using these numbers is kind of like a low that you want to aim for when you're looking up to pick up some cards. So that came out September 25th, 2020. Same thing, we got Crimson Legend. And the main thing about Crimson Legend is, as you can tell, there is one big card. And that one big card is Greatest Mage Union. So that came out in October. And overall, you got 2 big cards, but Union seems to be like the big one. And here we go. Union, though, as you can see, same thing. It's a little less drastic, but there is maybe a lack of supply of this card. As you can see here with Greatest Mage Union, there were sales, 3 sales actually. Someone was looking to play, or I don't know. I don't think it was somebody looking, actually, I can't see someone being desperate enough to buy that for $24. But maybe you are. Maybe you need that card really, really bad. But again, it looked like it was going for $10. $10 is the magic number. We have this here at 19 currently. I left it at 19. again, you can go out and look for, even if I change it to 10, it makes it 350. So it does make a difference. But to me, again, when you have one card, two cards that are playable like this, I just left it that way. If it makes anybody feel better, again, this is your number, 350. So I'm going to move that back to 19. I think if there is not enough of these out there, do I still have it up? I do not. Let me just look. Yen yen. Yen yen. Yeah, okay. See, I don't know if this was I'm not gonna make any sort of assumptions at this point, but right now, there's only 3 of them. If you're gonna play this deck, you're probably gonna need to buy this card, so I'm leaving it at 19. Again, it also depends on how many people are opening it, and since it's October of 2020, more than likely that a lot of these aren't going to be open. So unfortunately, if you were thinking that you're going to have many more chances of picking this up, it's not going to happen. The other thing here is I want to point out is, even though you may hate this idea and thought, these boxes are collector's items. Why do I say it's a collector item? Because if I do the math on this, the expected value, if we know there's 5 double rares inside of that box, and I multiply that here, you are totally not going to make up the value of this price by opening. These things at this point are sealed collector's items. That is it. And if you're wondering if these prices are real, well, if you take a look here, 6.9, 6.6, 6.1, 5.23, that's how much they're worth. And again, you may hate that fact, but it's true. Like, again, cold numbers. Maybe you'll be able to get it cheaper on a different website. I didn't bother looking. But at the same time, these are actual sale prices. And again, if you don't believe them, then, well, just scroll down. Okay, maybe let's just like fake it and say it's worth 110. But even then, this isn't getting opened anymore. The only way Union starts showing up back on the streets is if somebody decides to sell their deck, right? So at this point, it's $19. Why didn't I do that with these other ones here? Just because I think it's less usable. As in, like, overall, the Overlord set is less usable. More than likely, you're going to be playing a ReZero deck over an Overlord deck, and this is, again, easily findable. I didn't look up at any of the sites this Greatest Mage Union, but at the same time, again, I don't think there's like a lot of these copies out there left. I could be totally wrong, but again, like, who's opening boxes for singles at this point, right? You're losing that battle because you're only going to get one of these if you even pull it inside of that box. The rest is going to be all of these, so you have basically zero reason unless you're trying to open for an SP or SSP. Okay. Next we got ourselves Adventure Time. So Adventure Time is one of those possible Data Live killers. It has an extreme possibility of doing it, and as you can see here, the double rares are pretty strong on this one, right? You can see overall 579. This thing came out November 2020, and it's still hanging out. So did it drop over time? Maybe it did, but as we can see, it's holding pretty strong. Strong decks keep their value. If people like the cartoon in this case, then yeah, it's going to hold a certain value. I didn't like Adventure Time at all, so I tried watching it. I just couldn't get into it. But, enough said. Mob Psycho. So, I didn't like Mob Psycho either. It was not one of my favorites. I couldn't make it past episode 3, 4. It was just not for me. As you can see here, we got 2 big cards. We got a lot of not so good cards, and we got a terrible looking double rare average. So there is a bunch of product out there. Is this product going to get open again? Being the double rare average looking like that, multiplied by 5, you only have 3 cards above average, so more than likely you're going to lose this battle. You're going to pull more of these here. Actually, there's 4. 4. I'll update that. Some of these actually, it's weird. Some people price things different, like these cards. You'll go on TCGPlayer, you'll see. If you search by market high to low, you'll see exactly what I mean. So they kind of play this numbers game so that you'll be able to buy from them over anybody else. But this is what happened in this case. Anyways, we got 4 cards. So more than likely, you're not going to pull that $9 card. More than likely, like right here, you're not going to pull both these cards in one shot for the most part. I actually have to look at the colors to see what that is, but you're more than likely going to pull these. You're going to lose. No one's going to be opening. If you have a Mob Psycho box, and again, if you're not looking for an SP and you're just trying to sell singles, definitely you shouldn't do it at this point. It would be a losing battle for you. But again, we have a low 369. And again, the whole point of this exercise is to figure out how low it can go, okay? So I'm just going to move a little quicker. So we got FGO. FGO is pretty strong. Look at this thing. You got a fair shot at doing okay. And overall double rare average 738. Again, it was a decent set. Like playability-wise, it was right there in the middle of being good. So it's a good deck. People like Fate Grand Order. So I would say collectible. And even then, Fate Grand Order. Yeah, these prices are real. So if you take a look at Shared Journey Mash and this one, Towards the Final Singularity, these are the past sales history, right? So no one's playing any weird tricks here. No one's doing anything here. 1449. I can go back all the way here to March and you'll have $12, $13. So overall, I mean, this seems to be what the price of this card actually is. And again, as it slowly drifts away, there's some here with 11 or 12, but unless people are looking to undercut each other, I would imagine these prices should pretty much hold. So Fate Grand Order. I didn't look at this. What is the price of the booster box? 104. 104, and yeah, people have been buying it. So again, this price is pretty much solid at this point, right? 110, 105, 105, 105, 110, 99. So at this point, I don't ever see this box dropping under $90 anymore. So Weiss boxes, man, I mean, they're once they're gone, they're gone. They become collector pieces. You're not opening it for the singles anymore. You're keeping it for that very reason. So what I did was, here is my old Excel sheet of just the 4. This is what I did here. Let me update Mob Cycle to 4. Okay, so what I did here is all the release dates, how many double rares. This is the prior week double rare. This is the current week double rare. And as you see here, the lowest one being Mob Psycho makes sense to me. Not very good set. Not a lot of people wanted it. There was a lot of it though. A lot of supply out there. Legend of Crimson, again, if you believe that union was priced too high, then you're in the 350s. But in the end, again, I've been told from commenters, right, that Legend of Crimson, Mob Psycho, worst of the worst. These things are worthless because there's so many people got what they wanted. But at this point, even at that, there's going to be some cards that are above this average, and there's going to be some a level rate that at this point seems to be like 350 350 where these averages are. So again, I've been trying to figure out at what point you should start buying cards if you wanted cards. Right? So at this point what I think is 350 is probably the lowest overall of an average as you're going to find. And reason being for that is, again, people are going to be buying these cards to play with. They're modern, they like that anime, they're going to play it. Some people are just going to collect that. Just know, again, there are people that love this anime and they're going to collect it. They're going to buy a sealed box, they're going to buy a sealed trial deck, they're going to buy binders to show all the different cards and that is why I think there is some sort of support level, because there's only so much of the sealed that's going to be open, because at some point, like I've proven here, that people aren't going to open it because the cards inside of them aren't worth anything. So you're going to have it where the supply thins out and people are going to just pick it up for whatever reason they want to pick it up. So, which basically shows me here these newer sets like Bofuri and Magia Record Anime. Again, why did Bofuri bounce? Maybe because that was a good price for people, right? There were some cards that they needed and they picked them up. And that is basically it, right? So we have, and the only reason I put these current card highest triple double rare and above average is just for me to see, really, is it worth opening any of these boxes? Or how many of the cards, if you see 2 cards above average and the average is, this price right here is really high, then there's just 2 big ones that are holding this thing up, right? If we subtract out the 2 high cards from Overlord, now you're looking at a terrible average, right? It's going to look ugly. But again, I think that makes sense to me that there are a bunch of high cards because, again, like to play a set, to play a deck, you're going to need those high cards, and that's always going to happen. People always pointed out and said, there's going to be a few double rares that are usable, the rest are worthless. And that's pretty much proven here. Except for Bofuri, we got 6. We got half of their double rares as over the average. And some of these right here, so we got half double rares above average, we have half above average, data live, just a little bit under. So again, I think for me what this is still proving, unless I have something horrible coming up, like 7 Deadly Sins, I say horrible as in that thing's going to be majorly opened by players and collectors alike. So I would imagine the double rare should be very, very interesting to track. So there we are. Yeah, I mean, if we ever see 350s, it's going to be an interesting time to see if it just keeps on plummeting, or really is that a good bounce point, or in the forest like we saw with Bofuri. So hopefully this is helpful. To me, this is all super interesting. Here are our card winners anyways, like our top tier stuff, top tier double rares. And have a good one.